By the end of this video, you'll be able to rig your characters in 3 different ways. I'll be going through them in full detail, so make sure to watch the full video as all 3 of them have their own advantages. There are timestamps below if you want to skip to different methods. Without further delay, let's get started with the video. The first method we are going to be looking at is the traditional way of rigging. It just requires you to add and extrude bones. This method is usually used to rig more complex models like animals. So I will be showing you step by step how to do it and how to master it with practice. So let's get straight into it. Once you have imported your character that you want to rig, the first step is to look at your 3D cursor. Where is it? Mine currently is right at the center of the world origin. Now, if your one is somewhere like over here, then if you want to make it back to the center of origin, you can just press Shift S, and then you get this pie menu. You can do cursor to world origin or cursor to selected, wherever you want it to be. I'm going to put cursor to world origin. Remember, wherever your 3D cursor is, that is where your bone is going to be placed in your scene. So, to add your bone or to add your armature, we're going to do Shift A, and then you're going to get this add menu. We're going to go right over here, add an armature. So we're going to click that. As we can see, it's going to add a bone that looks something like this. Now this is going inside the body. So if we move this up and press G to move this up, we can see that once it's inside the body, you cannot see it. So we're going to go over here to your properties panel. And over here, you will see armature properties. Over here, if you go to viewport display, you can check the viewport display over here and enable in front. Just like that, if it's inside the body, you still see your bone. Now, if you disable it, you'll see you can't see anything. When you enable it, you will still see the bone when it's inside the mesh. So that is now enabled. That is the number 1 setting you want enabled. I'm not going to go over the settings right now. The main purpose of this video is to rig this character. The first step is to get your character. This is your root bone. This is the root bone, and now we can rename our armature to, let's just say, let's just rename this to our root or our bones, whatever you wanted to rename it, root or whatever you wanted to call it, the whole collection of bones. Okay, so we're gonna go into our front orthographic view by pressing numpad 1, and we're gonna move it, and we're gonna press tab to go into edit mode. Then we're gonna quickly select this bone, scale it down, and we're gonna quickly move it and align it over here. Okay, now this is going to be, let's say, our torso bone, or like our torso bone, either our torso bone or our stomach bone, whatever you want to call it. Okay, now over here we're going to go into our side view, and over here we're going to select this, and we can quickly grab and move it to align it. Okay, now remember, when we are working with the rig, you always want to be switching from your front orthographic view, numpad 1, and your right orthographic view, which is going to be numpad 3. Now, very highly suggest you have a keyboard that has a numpad. Now, if you do not have a keyboard with a numpad or using a laptop, then you can use your emulate keyboard function. If you go into edit, preferences, you can go over here to your input and you can select emulate numpad, so you can still use your normal keyboard and you can still use your numpad functions. Okay, so now our first bone is now positioned inside the body. Now what we're going to do, we're now going to extrude more bones to get the rest of the armature. Okay, let's go back into our front orthographic view. We're going to select this circle part. Remember that to extrude it out in a hierarchy, you're going to select this top part over here, this little ball. We're going to press E to extrude it, and now if you move this, you get a new bone extruding out, something over there. Then we're going to go to the right orthographic view, and we're now going to place this a bit back. Okay, remember to align. I'm going to align it with the arms, just like that. Now after this, we're going to rename our bones. You can rename your bones whilst extruding them out, but I'm going to rename the bones later on when I finish the whole mesh. Now, the purpose of this video, I'm going to show you a very cool trick. We're going to be using the symmetry method. So symmetrize method is when you just have to quickly model or create the armature for half of the body. Then you just do right click and you get this symmetrize button over here. this button over here, and when you click it, then you will get the other half of the armature, and that is literally it. Okay, just do half of the work, and half the work a blender will do for you. Now the next thing is just to literally extrude out your bones. Okay, this part is just extrude out. Oh, I will actually select that. So extrude out over here, just like that, and go into your top of graphic Windows numpad 7. For some parts, you have to look at the top. Now this part, I'm going to quickly fast forward this because now it's going to get a bit boring to me just extruding out bones. Okay, so I'm going to quickly fast forward this part, extruding this part only. This part is quite important for the hand. It depends on your mesh, how many bones you want to add in each finger. But the thing about the hand is that I'm going to add a bone over here. And once I've added the bone, I'll just check in the front view if this is lined up, and top view, side view, whatever. Then the thing about this one is that what you can do is that you can select this bone. You can do E to extrude it on this side, and then you'll do E to extrude, and E to extrude, and E to extrude. 3 bones, right? Now I'll quickly align this part. So I'll quickly go into front orthographic view, or you can just go into perspective view. I can quickly align this. I'm going to do it roughly, so I'm going to quickly show you something. So over here, move it down there, and move it just like that. Okay, over here, and over here, and over there. As we can see, we quickly positioned our little bones inside our pinky finger. The next step is that you'll notice that we have an extra bone over here we don't want. Okay, there's an extra bone that is literally irrelevant and would not do anything in our rig. What we can literally do, you can press X, and we can just delete this bone. Now you notice we're going to create a little line over here. Now this line just means that this little bone is parented to this bone. So when this bone moves, this bone will also move with it, or this hierarchy will also move with it. Okay, so I'm going to quickly fast forward this again to complete the rest of the fingers. I've noticed for the fingers, it's quite hard to get the orthographic views, because when you go into orthographic view, you'll see that's kind of blocking the way. So you have to get, what you can do is basically just mask out a part of the mesh if you want to. But I'm going to manage it. Well, if you want to mask it out, it's quite easy. You can do Control B to box out and select that part of your mesh. So as we can see, I have now completed the rig for my arm. I'm going to quickly delete these extra bones that we do not want. Now, one thing I want to specify, so in the arm bone especially, you want this part where it's going to rotate, so your elbow especially, you want this part to be a little bit backwards right there. Why is that? It's because when you try and parent your armature to your mesh, when you try to deform it, then it would not cause any problems. If you notice, if your bones are completely straight like this, then you might have some glitches or some problems when you're deforming the mesh. It might glitch where it's not rotating properly where you want it to be. So the trick is to get that little bend in your armature. Okay, so now we're done at this part of our mesh. We are then going to look at our this left feet. Okay, the left feet, or this left feet of our armature. So I'm going to make it quite simple. I'm just going to do E to extrude and get this pelvis bone. And I'm going to quickly go like this. And then we're going to go over here, E to extrude to get our upper leg. So, oopsies, E to extrude to get our upper leg. Just like that. Grab it to make it a bit bend it like that. And then I'm going to do E to extrude again, just like that. Cool. That is quite simple, isn't it? Now the thing is, it's the same thing that applies to the leg bones over here. You just want it to be a little bend just like that. Now because we know that it's going to bend this way, the leg bones are bend this way, you want this bone to be a bit forward, not backwards, otherwise it can bend this other way to the front. You want it to be this way, okay? Now this model is quite weird because as you can see, this bone is bending a bit weirdly. So we can just manage it by making this a little bend, and you can make this part a bit back to get this little curved shape, okay? Now that looks cool. We are then going to quickly create the bones for the leg. So then it's going to be over here. We grab it and we're going to do E to extrude for the leg. So as we can see, we have now completed the rig for the leg, arm, and our middle body. Now we now quickly do our top part. We're going to create the neck. So over here, E to extrude for this part over here. E to extrude again. So E to extrude again. And then E to extrude again for our head. Let's quickly align it. So over here, it's supposed to be like that. And then over here, like that. And then this part over here at the top. We're going to make it a bit bent, just like that, okay? As we can see, this is an extra bone we do not want. So we can just delete that bone. And as we can see, it's parented to this specific bone. Now, once you have done this, you have rigged or added the bones for half of your mesh. We're now going to be using our symmetrize method. Now, in order for our symmetrize method to work, we need to rename our bones. We have to name our bones specifically. As we can see, we have modeled the left hand side of our bones. As we can see, we cannot symmetrize this middle part because that's only one part of the bone. So we have to go in the bone properties over here. When you're inside the bone properties, you can rename this. I'm going to rename the stomach. Okay, stomach, just like that. And then over here, I'm going to label this, let's just say the chest. I'm not a scientist, I don't know the bones, but whatever, the chest. And over here, we have the neck. And over here, we're going to have our head. Okay, now we have renamed the bones that are not going to be symmetrized because there's only one of those bones. As we can see, we have two upper arms, we have two hands, we have two fingers, and we have two pinky fingers, etc. So for this specific part, we're going to add a little suffix at the end. Okay, add a little suffix at the end. The thing I'm talking about is over here. For example, we have this pelvis bone. We're going to name it, since it's the left bone, if this is the left bone of the mesh, we're going to rename it as pelvis, and then we're going to put underscore or a dot, doesn't matter, underscore or dot. I normally do underscore, and we're going to do a lowercase l. You remember, you have to do a lowercase l, underscore, lowercase l, and you have to do that for every single bone. For example, over here, we're going to let's just do upper leg, underscore l, okay? You don't have to do it for these specific bones because there's only one of those bones and if they're in the middle, they're in the middle, but these bones, all of these bones on the left, they have to be renamed with a underscore l at the end or a dot l, okay? Now I'm going to quickly fast forward this so I can rename all these bones because it's going to take about 5 minutes. So now we have renamed our bones. It's time for us to use our magic trick of the symmetrize method. So still in edit mode, what we're going to do, we're going to press Ctrl S just to save everything so we don't lose anything just in case Blender crashes. So we're going to go over here and we're going to quickly over here select this part of our arm that we're going to symmetrize. Okay, we're going to do it one by one, symmetrize the arm bit, okay? We're going to do right click and over here, we're going to hit symmetrize. And as we can see, it has symmetrized. Now you'll notice that we're going to have a little problem is because our bone starts from this specific point. So our symmetrized point is from the origin. Okay, you'll notice that our symmetrized point is from the origin. So now to fix this, I'm going to Control S. I'm going to go to object mode. Over here, our origin point of our armature is in the middle. So we're going to do right click and we're going to quickly set origin to 3D cursor. So that is where our origin is. Now we can quickly symmetrize this, because remember, our symmetry is always with the origin part. So let's quickly select these bones. Deselect this bone over here. We do not want that bone. So let's select this bone and these bones over here. Right click and symmetrize. Now as we can see, now it is perfectly aligned. So remember, if your symmetry doesn't happen properly, doesn't work properly, is because of your origin point. Let's do the same over here for these bones in the leg bones over here. Right click, symmetrize, and look at that. We have created the rig for our character. Now the only part is to actually parent our armature to our mesh. So when we rotate our bones, then it will rotate the mesh, as will deform the mesh. So in order for us to do that, we're going to go into our object mode. We are then going to go over here, Control S to save it, because sometimes it might crash when you're trying to parent it depending on your mesh. So remember, if your mesh is so dense with vertices, then it might crash. Now I've had experience with this. So use a mesh that has a low count of vertices. So then we're gonna go over here. First thing first, we are gonna select your mesh, shift select your armature second, Control P, and we're gonna do parent with automatic weight. So you can do it with empty weights as well, but you have to then weight paint it. I'm not going to show it today in this video right now, but you can do it with automatic weight. That's the one I would usually use. And just like that, our character is fully rigged using the traditional method. So let's check this out. Let's go into pose mode, and when you rotate it, and look at that, our character is rigged in less than 15 minutes. Look at that, guys. Amazing, right? Literally so good. We can even rotate our head. Amazing. So let's do Alt R to reset everything. Our rotation. Cool. Now that is the traditional method of rigging. Now let's move on to the next method. That is very, very, very easy and common way to rig your models. So the next method we are going to be looking at is the Rigify method. So we're going to be using the Rigify add-on, which is built into Blender in order for us to rig our character. So first step is to go over here into Edit, Preferences, and over here in Add-ons, we're going to search Rigify, and you'll notice we're going to have our Rigify add-on. Just check this, and that's going to enable it, and do not forget to save it. So I have auto save on, so I can just cross that out. So we have the Rigify add-on now enabled. Now if we now do Shift A, you notice that if we go into armature, you see you're gonna have another option, which is gonna be Rigify Meta Rig, and you're gonna have a human, animal, and basic. Okay, human, animal, and basic. So we can do basic, human, basic, quadruped. Or animals, we have a bird, cat, horse, shark, and wolf. And I believe later on, you're going to get more options for animals as Blender progresses. But we're going to look at the default human meta rig. So let's click that. Now you'll notice we're going to have a meta rig appear into our screen. What we're going to be doing, we're going to modify it, scale it up, edit some of the bones in order for us to match our model. So let's scale this up. We are going to go over here again into armature properties, and then viewport display we're going to enable in front, so now we can see the bones through the mesh. We are then going to delete the face bones because we don't want the face bones. I'm not going to work with the face anyways. I just want to have the main bone and get rid of the air bones as well. And for this rig, I'm not going to actually rig the fingers because I believe they are long for this tutorial. But in the last method, for the traditional way, I rigged the fingers as well. But it's going to be the same thing, okay? So let's go and delete these finger bones. Just like that. So like that. And then over here, get rid of the finger bones over here. X delete. Now remember, it just depends on your character how it is modeled, okay? Depending on your character. Imagine if your character has 4 fingers or 3 fingers instead, okay? It just depends on your character. Then we're just going to go over here into front orthographic view, and we're just going to literally just arrange our bones just like this, okay? Doesn't really matter, I'm just gonna roughly arrange everything, but you can take your time, okay? Remember, this is our pelvis bone over here, everything looking good. I'm gonna delete these bones, I don't know why they are there, maybe for the chest or something. And then over here, we're gonna quickly just check our head look good. And you'll notice that if you check the names are actually pretty good. Shoulder.L. And rotate it, grab it up. Rotate it, grab it, and then just quickly grab this just like that. And as we can see, it's looking good. Top view over here. Then that looks good. And this side over here. Grab for this over here. Grab, and then that looks good. And then front orthographic view, and I'm just gonna pull this up, select these bones, and then pull it up, rotate it, GS, rotate, and then scale. And look at that, we have now positioned and rearranged our metal rig into our mesh. And now that looks good, the next step is to actually bind or parent our mesh to our armature. So we're now going to select our mesh, shift select our armature, control P, and then we're going to parent it with automatic weights. Then if we now go into pose mode, you'll notice that it is now rotating with our rig. And this way is way faster than a traditional way. As you can see, I literally just did that in a few minutes. Now, a very, very good feature with the Rigify method is that you can now create a control rig with the Rigify add-on. It's very difficult in the traditional way, adding a Rigify or adding a control rig with different shapes, but if a Rigify add-on is built in. So if we go into object mode, we're going to select our armature. We're going to go over here to our armature properties, and when you scroll down, you'll see we are going to have a Rigify drop down. We can generate a rig and then it should work. Okay, I have a full tutorial on the Rigify add-on. I'll leave the link in the description. Now let's move on to our next way of rigging. So the last method we're going to be looking at is the auto rigger method. This is the best method so far, and you can only use this method if you want to rig characters, not like complicated animals, etc. Okay, now the first step in order for us to do is we have to export our model or our character. So you have to click this. We're going to go into here, file, export, and we're going to export it as an FBX file. Okay, click that, then you have to save it. We're gonna click I'm gonna name it as rigging.fbx. I'm gonna save it as on my desktop and just click export FBX. And remember, click selected object. So I only want to export that selected object and click export FBX. Now, once you have done that, we are then going to head on to Mixamo. So we're going to be using this free website called Mixamo to rig our character. Now, I'm going to leave the link in the description. Just click that link and you're going to get straight over here. Then you just need to log in or sign up for free, depending on if you have already created an account. I'm going to quickly log into my account. So now once we're in Mixamo, we are then going to upload our character into over here. As you can see, we have our default characters over here. You want to change, you're going to upload our character. We're going to upload character, and then you're going to quickly drop your file, select your file, your FBX file over here. So then it's going to quickly process your character. As we can see, it might take a few seconds now. It's going to say unable to map your existing skeleton. Now, if this happens, that means you cannot use your auto rig method. If this happens, I'm really sorry, but you cannot use it. There's no way you can change it. I did this on purpose to show you that we cannot use the auto rigger for this. Now, it's probably because of your mesh is not very it doesn't set up properly or whatever it is, if it's like a more complex character. But for this method, you can just, when you have a good character, if it does work, then I'll show you a quick example when it does work. As you can see, I'm now uploading my new character that should be able to now work. Hopefully it should work, I believe. So click load. And once it does process the character, sometimes it will skip the step of allocating where your part of the body is. So quickly processing the character. It might take a few minutes. So now, as we can see, it now is working, and then as we can see, it has auto-rigged your mesh. So we're going to press next. We're going to press next again, and then as we can see, it's going to be over here doing the animation, the default animation. Then in order for us to get this back into our scene, we're going to go over here into animations, and we're going to get the T-pose. Okay, get the T-pose. Get the T-pose over here. That's going to be in a T-pose. Then we're going to download this. Download it as an FBX with skin. You can just change it to 24 or 60, whatever you like. I'm going to keep it 24. And we are going to click download. And it should be downloading in a minute. So downloaded. Then once you have done that, we're going to go back into Blender. We then quickly delete this. We don't need this one. We're going to go into File, Import, FBX. And then it should be the one that you have imported. As you can see now, it is rigged with our armature. So if you go over here into front, it is rigged using our auto rigger from Mixamo. Now these are the 3 methods for rigging your character in Blender. Now I hope you guys find this video so valuable. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in my next video.